It's the Criterion. It's the Criterion. Criterion. N Project.
Hey, everybody. So I had a great time with my friend Conrado talking about Citizen Kane and Make the other day on our podcast, The Criterion Project. And we also had our friend AB on, Conrado's friend. And we started talking about Tenet in our introductory segment. And I thought it was really good discussion. And so I thought I would share it with all of you, hear Rachel's reviews, so you could get a little flavor for what we do at the Criterion Project, which is a podcast that we do once or twice a month, depending on the month. And we talk about a film that is on the Criterion channel. And it's a lot of fun. It's not as heady as you'd think. We're pretty down to earth, and we have different perspectives. And here we're talking about Tenet. And so I thought you'd all enjoy it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Put in the comment section or let us know on Twitter. You can follow us at Criterion Pod on Twitter. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
And when we're thinking about like Criterion-ish movies, I was going through the movies I'd watched recently, and I have somewhat of a controversial choice for this question. But actually, I think Christopher Nolan's Tenet will one day be included in the Criterion collection.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a great take. I love this. I want to hear more about this. Yeah, please explain yourself.
Of course.
Tenet.
So I didn't really like Tenet very much, although I have to say I have thought about it pretty consistently since I saw it and do want to see it again. I think, the movie really flies in the face of what a lot of people have come to expect with Christopher Nolan. It's sort of like a total rejection of the logic bro take on his movies as these sort of highly constructed puzzles that need to be scrutinized and figured out. And once you unlock them with the right key, all of a sudden everything like makes dramatic sense, which for what it's worth has never been a type of movie watching that I find especially enjoyable. But I think Tenet just doesn't make any sense at all. No matter how you look at it, it's just total nonsense. But the like surface textures of it are totally coherent. And if you're thinking about it in regards to like James Bond or just the spy genre generally, it has this remarkable ability to evoke that genre in feeling, if not in like specific narrative whatever, because there is no specific narrative whatever. So I think it's just an amazing like textural movie. It just feels like so many things. And in fact, I mean, in the movie, the first time John David Washington encounters the like weird timey whatever mechanics, he's like, how does any of this stuff work? And in the movie, the person responds like, well, better, don't try to understand it, just feel it. And every time throughout the movie, someone's like, how does any of this work? Most of the time, the character's response is like, I don't know. And clearly Christopher Nolan himself is like not concerned with understanding how any of this stuff works. And I think it's so cool to see a huge, expensive, weird, messy movie like that where nothing makes sense. I mean, I was watching it with my roommate and we'd constantly pause the movie and one of us would say, sorry, what are they talking about? And the other would say, I don't know. And that was the entire movie. So yeah.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question, which is I have heard this kind of take about the movie before. And I am not really in that camp, but what I want to understand is that what you enjoy about the movie then, or what you've been thinking about that got you excited is just the fact of like being able to sit back and just kind of enjoy the spectacle is what I'm gathering.
Kind of. I mean, I don't even think it was particularly enjoyable spectacle. Like even the action scenes were like kind of a mess to me visually and lacked some of that necessary, like juice to keep me going. It was more just that I felt just at a loss the entire movie. I never had a clue what was going on. None of the entire movie, not one moment made a lick of sense to me. And I just so rarely have that experience as, an avid movie watcher. I just usually like can get a movie and can engage with it subtextually and or at least in some way narratively, whatever. And with Tenet, the whole time I'm like, what am I watching? What is this about? What's going on? And that disorientation I actually found very appealing. I remember in Conrado and I went to school together for what it's worth. And I took a class in college where it was an experimental cinema class. And the professor told us to embrace boredom. He said, a lot of people reject art house type movies or experimental cinema because it's boring. And actually, when we're bored, we have our most interesting thoughts. Our minds can wander and like find, new ideas and become creative. And watching Tenet, I found myself in that sort of headspace that I'd often found myself in experimental films where I'm just like not even really thinking about the movie, more just like allowing my mind to wander through the textures that the movie offered. I thought that was interesting.
All right. I'll take that explanation. Yeah. Okay. So you heard it here first, folks. Christopher Nolan is the next David Lynch, I guess. Rachel, do you have thoughts?
Well, I've heard that argument, but I don't know. I think that he went too far. Even experimental films, you should be able to understand what the characters are saying. And to spend for his bizarre choices with the sound mix in a film that I'm supposed to be putting the pieces together in some coherent way, to spend over 2 hours in this incomprehensible mess was extremely frustrating. I felt assaulted by it. I felt like it was like being in a bad amusement park ride for 2.5 hours that never is going to end. And you just are like, please get me out of here. And it was so frustrating because I felt like I had stood up for him. I had said, that he was really trying to reopen the theaters, and that he was trying to do it for the theaters. And so I felt a little betrayed by him because it seemed like such an ego trip, and to insist that a movie that's such an ego trip get released felt kind of I felt upset. And I don't know, they had so many other films that they could have released to try that experiment that I think would have helped the theaters more. And for him to insist that it was his film, and when something like Wonder Woman, I think, could have been way more helpful, or even something like, say, I don't know, Croods, or that wasn't ready then, but Trolls World Tour, whatever, something like that would be way more helpful to the theaters than this. Why would you insist this experimental film get released? And I don't know it, when I think it actually did the reverse and made people less wanting to go to the theater and see it. And I don't know, so that's also maybe coloring my view a little bit, but I just did not enjoy it at all. And if the point of a film is to entertain even a little bit, I mean, is it that completely out of a reasonable expectation to be entertained a little bit
I
in a
guess it depends.
film?
I guess it depends, right? If you see it as an experimental film like Avi does, then maybe entertainment is not really an issue. But I kind of agree with you that as a kind of summer blockbuster type movie, I actually really enjoyed the action sequences. But I do agree that it was a little puzzling that he spent so much time with all this exposition, and if it's not going to matter,
Well,
like if it's just about feeling it.
I totally, first of all, I completely agree and have enormous sympathy for like both of your perspectives on this movie, because I think I share them. I mean, I have no doubt that Christopher Nolan is a megalomaniacal, bad person who like almost single-handedly hurt the opening of theaters again. Like that's 100% true. I think I'm just like, I couldn't hate it because it was just so weird. Like you don't see $200 million movies that are that weird very often. And I just found that
true.
engaging.
Mm.
Yeah.
If he hadn't done that sound mix, the sound mix was just that put me over the edge. I would be in your camp because I defended him on a lot of his other. I mean, Interstellar in particular, which a lot of people didn't like the ending. I enjoyed, and I thought that it was bold, and I don't know. I felt a little betrayed by the movie in a lot of ways, and
Totally.
I just didn't enjoy it.
I totally know,
Okay.
totally. And I don't want to belabor it, but it's interesting because
Yeah.
Conrado, you did, you just mentioned like the amount of exposition in that movie. And at first I was like, what the fuck is anyone saying? But
Yeah.
after a certain point, I was just like, wow. Like I started thinking, well, what is a movie if it's just information being delivered to the audience for 2 hours? Like what happens? And my brain just overloaded and no like words lost meaning. And in fact, like the distinction between like forwards and backwards speech broke down. And like it wasn't only that I couldn't understand the movie, like I could no longer understand myself and time. Like just
I wish I had watched that movie. or that we had watched it together or something.
Yeah, me too.
well, we can watch it again.
Someday.
Exactly.
Make sure you check out the Criterion Project on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. We have a lot of fun, a lot of interesting discussion. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
It's the Criterion. It's the Criterion. 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 Criterion.